Do you ever feel like you're pouring from an empty cup, giving everything to others and leaving nothing for yourself? What if I told you that the way you take care of yourself sets the tone for every relationship in your life? Self-care is not selfish. It's the foundation for building healthier, deeper, more meaningful connections with the people you love. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Wellness from Scratch. I'm Marissa Jackson, your host, and I started this podcast to create a space where we can explore self-improvement, well-being, and living authentically together. Before we dive in, I want to take a moment to celebrate a small but meaningful milestone. We have now, at the time of recording this video, hit 78 subscribers, and I am so grateful for everyone who is joining me on this journey. Knowing that what I'm creating is resonating with you means the world to me, and it inspires me to keep going. My mission is, it's to create and spread positivity and share with you tools for growth and to remind you that you're not alone on this path. In today's episode, we're diving into a topic that is close to my heart: the connection between self-care and relationships, whether it's your partner, your kids, your friends, or even with yourself. The way you show up with your relationships starts with how you take care of yourself. We'll talk about the myths behind self-care, how neglecting yourself can impact those around you, and practical ways to nurture your well-being without the guilt. In today's fast-paced world, balancing well-being with nurturing relationships can be challenging. However, integrating self-care into personal routines and relationships is essential for a harmonious and fulfilled life. All right, so let's jump in and talk about some of the biggest myths around self-care, because I think these misconceptions stop many of us from actually doing these things in our lives. Okay, so the first myth I have for you is that self-care is selfish. This cannot be further from the truth. And this is probably the most common one, right? I mean, a lot of us were taught that putting yourself first meant neglecting others, especially as parents, partners, or even friends. It can feel like we're letting people down if we step away to focus on our own needs. But here's the truth: you can't give yourself to others if you're running on empty. What do you have to give? Self-care is not about choosing yourself over other people. It's about taking care of yourself so you can have a strong foundation to show up for yourself and to show up for others. So the second myth I have for you is that self-care is expensive and time-consuming. Another big one, the idea that self-care means spa days, luxurious vacations, or big purchases. While those things can be wonderful, if they're accessible to you, self-care is really about, you know, it's about intentional actions that make you feel grounded and in the present moment. It could be taking 5 minutes to breathe deeply and take note of how your body feels in the moment. It could be journaling or drinking your favorite coffee or tea in peace and quiet. It's just about creating little moments that recharge you. It's not about spending money or making a grand gesture. The next one I have for you here is that self-care is only for people who have the luxury of time. Let's be real though, we're all busy. I'm a toddler mom, so I understand, constantly needing to be there for my baby. But that doesn't mean that I don't take a moment and stop. I do make myself a cup of tea. My favorite tea is Earl Grey, and right now I've been drinking this one that has little bits of vanilla in it, and it's so amazing. Self-care doesn't have to take hours of your day. Making my tea takes 5 minutes, and the smell, the aroma, the warm mug in my hands. It's all a part of just making me feel relaxed and more grounded so that I can receive anything that my daughter, brings to me with love and compassion and empathy. And I would beg to say that self-care is actually more powerful when it's woven into your daily life, because then it becomes a part of your routine and your daily habits. And that can naturally make you feel more sustainable in the long run when you weave these things that nurture your soul into the little moments throughout your day. It's not about finding the hours you don't have. It's about finding small moments within your day to just stop and take a moment for yourself. It's not about finding hours you don't have. It's about finding small opportunities that build up over time. Think of it this way. Every time you put a small amount of self-care into your bucket, over time, that's going to compound. And each day, it's like you're making little deposits into your happy bank. And this can make literally a world of difference in how you feel. And the last myth I have for you is that self-care only benefits you. This one, this might surprise you, but self-care is not just about you. Think about it. When you're well rested, emotionally balanced, and taking care of your physical and mental health, you show up differently in your relationships. You're more patient, more present, and more capable of supporting others. So in reality, taking care of yourself is one of the most loving things you can do for the people in your life, because if you take care of you, you can take care of them better. These myths make self-care feel like an indulgence or an afterthought. But the truth is, it's a necessity. It's the foundation for a healthy life and healthy relationships. Let's talk about how neglecting your self-care can strain your relationships and how we can turn that around. Now that we've broken down the myths about self-care, let's talk about what happens when we neglect it. Because when you realize it or not, when we ignore our needs, it impacts not just us, but everyone around us. So the first thing I would say is that we become easily drained and resentful when we are constantly giving to others without replenishing ourselves. It's like running a car on fumes. It doesn't work. You feel tired, frustrated, and eventually you hit a wall. This often leads to resentment towards your partner, your kids, your friends, or even your job, because you feel like you're carrying the weight of the world without any relief. And that resentment, it can quietly build tension in your relationships. And even if you don't mean for that to happen, the next thing that happens is that our patience and emotional capacity shrinks. When you're running on empty, your ability to handle stress and show up with patience is diminished. Little things start to feel overwhelming, and you might snap at people you care about or withdraw altogether. Without space to decompress and recharge, it's harder to show up as your best self. And the people around you, your partner, your kids, your friends, they can feel it too. The next thing I have for you is that we struggle to connect authentically. When you neglect your self-care, you're not just neglecting your physical needs, you're also neglecting your emotional and mental well-being. Over time, this can make it harder to connect authentically with others because you're not fully present. Instead of engaging deeply, you might be distracted or irritable or emotionally checked out. It creates this disconnect in our relationships, like a gap. Even if your intentions are good. And one of the last things I would say that can happen if you neglect taking care of yourself would be that burnout becomes inevitable, because burnout isn't just about working. It can happen in your personal life too. If you're constantly overextending yourself, taking care of everything and everyone else, putting your own needs last, burnout will eventually creep in. And when that happens, it's harder to recover quickly. Burnout can leave you, physically exhausted, emotionally numb, and even disconnected from your sense of purpose. And this one, I think, is the most important one. When you neglect to take care of yourself, you create a ripple effect within your entire life. Here's the thing. When we neglect our self-care, we unintentionally model that behavior for the people around us, especially our kids or loved ones. We teach them that neglecting their own needs is normal, even when it's not sustainable. And over time, this can create a ripple effect where unhealthy patterns get passed down and mirrored from generation to generation. So it might feel like skipping self-care is harmless or even necessary just to keep up with life. But in actuality, it is more important in the long run. The good news is it's never too late to start taking care of yourself and making a change. In the next section, I'm going to share some ways that you can integrate self-care into your life in a way that feels doable, and guilt-free. Now that we've talked about why self-care matters, let's actually make it happen. And I really, really, really want to emphasize that self-care does not have to feel overwhelming. Okay? This is a place where we take small steps for gradual improvement. Okay? So these are going to be practical, guilt-free ways you can weave self-care into your daily life in a way that makes a real impact. Number one, what's our mantra here, you guys? Start small and be consistent. Self-care does not have to be a big dramatic overhaul. In fact, it's much more effective when you start small and build consistency over time. Think of it like planting seeds, Maybe it's 10 minutes each morning for a quiet reflection, short walk to clear your head. Consistency is what helps these small moments grow into habits and support your well-being. The next thing I would say is that you need to identify what recharges you, what makes you happy, what fills up your cup. This is not a one-size-fits-all. What works for someone else might not work for you. Take time to think about what truly recharges your batteries. Is it alone time, writing in a journal, drinking Earl Grey tea, moving your body with yoga or dancing, connecting with nature, going on a hike? In life, you've got to find what fills your cup up and prioritize those things, even in the smallest doses. The next one I have may not be received well, but I believe it to be very important, and that is setting boundaries without guilt. This is one of the most underrated forms of self-care, is learning how to say no to things that drain you. I'm learning how to do this right now, and I'm working on doing it in kind and compassionate ways. That's one of my goals for this year. One thing I've learned on this journey is that it's okay to protect your time and your energy, whether that means social obligations, saying no to extra work, or carving out time just for yourself. Setting boundaries is an act of self-love, and it benefits everyone in the long run. The next tip I have for you is really straightforward, and that is start incorporating self-care into your routine. The best self-care is the kind that fits seamlessly into your life. Think about the things that you're already doing and find ways to make them more intentional. For example, turn your morning coffee into a meaningful moment and just sit and enjoy it without distractions. Use your commute to listen to a podcast, music, or something that inspires you. Or end your day with a simple practice of gratitude, listing 3 things you're thankful for. And the last tip I have for ways that you can start incorporating self-care into your routine would be to give yourself permission to rest. Give yourself permission to rest and relax. Rest is not being lazy. And, I find that a lot of times in American culture, especially, we think that if someone takes a day off work because they're sick, that they're lazy. And that cannot be farther from the truth. In other countries in the world, you know, people do not look at taking time off from work as you being lazy and being undedicated to the cause, okay? And I think it's really important for people to start prioritizing mental health days. If you're feeling really drained, that would, in my opinion, be considered a sick day, because if you are not up to par, how are you going to do your job properly? Yeah. So many people feel guilty for taking breaks. But, here's the truth. You're not meant to run on full speed all the time. Resting allows you to recharge and come back even stronger, whether it's taking a power nap, giving yourself the evening off, or even just sitting in silence for a few moments. Let yourself rest without the guilt. And here's a little bonus tip for you guys. Make sure you ask for help when you need it. Self-care doesn't mean that you're doing everything alone. Sometimes it just means recognizing when you need help and being able to ask for it. Whether that means from your partner, from your friend, from a professional, leaning into others can lighten the load and create space for you to focus on what you need. I think what goes along with that is practicing having compassion for yourself. It's one of the most powerful forms of self-care. Being kind to yourself can change your entire thought process in life. Let go of the imperfection and the idea that you have to do everything right. Treat yourself with the same grace and understanding that you would offer to a close friend. I mean, you spend more time with yourself than you do anyone else. Celebrate your progress no matter what. And remind yourself that taking care of you is never selfish. I just want to thank you so much for clicking on my video. And if you could please hit that like and subscribe button. I'm really working hard towards reaching my goal of 100 subscribers. And I would just be so grateful. If you guys have made it to this point in the video, I want to thank you so much. And to let me know that you've made it this far, can you put the headphone or microphone emoji in the comments below? Self-care is about showing up for yourself in ways that feel natural and nourishing. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to look like anyone else's version of self-care. The key is to find what works for you and commit to it, even if that means just one small thing at a time. In the next section, we'll explore how practicing self-care not only benefits you, but can also transform the relationships in your life in ways you didn't expect. Now that we've explored practical ways to integrate self-care into your life, let's dive into not only how these practices benefit you individually, but also have a profound effect on your relationships. Prioritizing self-care can lead to deeper connections, improved communications, and a more harmonious dynamic with your loved ones. The first way would be that you'll have mindful communication. Engaging in mindfulness enhances your ability to be present during your interactions. This presence fosters more meaningful, empathetic conversations. It strengthens your bonds and it promotes mutual understanding. By fully striving to show your partner or friend that you value their thoughts and feelings, by being fully attentive, this can show your friends and loved ones that you truly value their thoughts and feelings, which can deepen your connection with each other. The second way that this can benefit your relationship is that you would partake in shared self-care activities together as kind of like a bonding. Participating in self-care practices together, like taking a nature walk or practicing yoga or, any creative hobbies, they not only boost individual well-being, but they can also enrich our relationships through shared positive experiences. These joint activities create lasting memories and reinforce your bond. You'll also be able to set healthy boundaries. Establishing boundaries ensures that both partners have the space to attend to their personal needs, and this prevents burnout and can also foster a healthier relationship dynamic. Clear boundaries promote respect and understanding, allowing each person to thrive individually and together. And the last one I have for you is expressing gratitude. Regularly acknowledging and appreciating each other fosters a positive atmosphere, enhancing emotional connection and satisfaction within the relationship. Simple acts of gratitude can make your partner feel valued, loved, and strengthen your bond. By integrating these self-care practices and creating a balanced approach, both enriches your personal life and your relationships. Prioritizing your well-being enables you to show up as the best version of yourself, positively influencing those around you. In upcoming episodes, we'll dive deeper into these strategies, offering practical tips and sharing personal anecdotes to guide you on this journey towards a more harmonious and fulfilling life. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining me today as we explored self-care and relationships. I hope this episode gave you some valuable insights to strengthen your connection with others while still being able to prioritize yourself. Remember, self-care isn't selfish. It's essential to building healthier, more fulfilled relationships. If this episode resonated with you, please like, comment, and subscribe for more meaningful conversations like this one. I also wanted to let you guys know that we'll be diving into a new series soon called From Struggle to Strength. This series dives into real stories of resilience and transformation, featuring inspiring professionals and everyday people who found strength through adversity. You won't want to miss the powerful stories coming your way.